Please. Hello and welcome everyone again to another video. And today's video was probably like the most requested one. Lots of people asked about how good is Shadow Registeel. I know if you are on Twitch, I already said my opinion there about Shadow Registeel. But today, I'm making the video. And I went a bit looked up most of the sims for the Shadow Registeel in all leagues except Master League. You know why? Because you just use Melmetal there or Excadrill, because Registeel doesn't have enough CMP to compete with the big boys. So, in the Great League, so the first one is non-Shadow, the second one is Shadow, but the screen looks scuffed, so let me fix it. I don't know what happened, but it doesn't seem alright. So, 1 second. New streamer, sorry guys. So Shadow, Registeel versus non-Shadow. So the non-Shadow in the Great League meta, the current Great League meta, the non-Shadow has 30 wins, 9 ties, and 1 loss in the Zero Shield. The Shadow drops 3 wins into losses. Sorry, 9 losses. What are those 3? So the Shadow in the Zero loses to Altaria, Shadow Walrein, and Venusaur. And to be honest, like Registeel is good because it's the steel that can beat those stuff. Where G-Fisk struggled to beat Venusaur and Walrein and Coffin. So you use Registeel because Registeel can beat those. But if the Shadow Registeel drops these matchups, then there is no point of using Registeel in the Zero Shield. How about in the 1? In the 1, the non-Shadow has 26 wins, 16 losses, and 1 tie. And in the 1, you drop 5 matchups. How what's the word here? How important are these matchups? Well, you lose to all the Darks, Obstagoon, Umbreon, and Scrafty. Well, Scrafty was a close one, so Registeel needs Energy Lead to beat that, but losing to Umbreon is big, and I think that's enough reason to not use Registeel. The Shadow one, sorry. You drop the Altaria matchup, you drop the Lantern Spark. The non-Shadow Registeel beats the Spark, lose to the Water Gun Lantern in the 1. But the Shadow loses to both. And in the 2, Registeel gets destroyed by Sableye, Altaria, and Walrein. It's not just that. Like, these matchups, like those 4 matchups, move from being slightly close wins, it's like slight close losses or wins, it's like the one with Energy Lead win, into a dominant matchups for those Pokemon. Like, Sableye destroys Shadow Registeel. Same for Diggersby, same for Trevenant, and same for Obstagoon. Which mean, like, I think Obstagoon just killed with the Shadow Claw plus Shadow Ball. Same for Sableye. Like, if you play Sableye matchup, your opposing Sableye is gonna shield once and leave the matchup with like 90% HP. What about Flash? I will get there. But to be honest, if you play Regi, there is 2 very annoying matchups. And those annoying matchups, only Registeel would remember them. Drapion and Mandibuzz with a Snarl, because they are like very close wins. So the Shadow picks up those 2 wins and they become more of a comfortable matchup rather than being like an annoying matchup. So Registeel, don't get me wrong, the non-Shadow still win, but the Shadow still lose. Oh, sorry, the Shadow picks up those 2 wins and the non-Shadow still win, but it's like a very annoying matchup because you have to throw 2 nukes. And most likely, like, the nuke does like 70% and leave it in very uncomfortable matchup where you still have to throw a big move just for like 5 HP percent. Because if you don't KO them with like a nuke on 5% HP percent, basically they will win the game. They will flip the matchup, so you have to throw. Now, what about Flash Cannon Regi? Here's the thing. 1, Flash Cannon Regi is already bad in the meta. You need Zap Cannon. It's a must. It's the reason why Registeel became good in the meta. So the Flash Cannon is already bad in the current meta. You need Zap because it has a chance to debuff and you beat the Flyer. You basically destroy the Flyers. You flip the Azumarill matchup if they have Hydro Pump. And with the Flash Cannon, believe it or not, you lose the 1 to Noctowl. Do you want to do that? Like, the whole reason behind using Registeel is that I think it's the only Pokemon that can reliably destroy Noctowl and Registeel. You can say G-Fisk does that, Medicham can do that, but the only Pokemon that destroys both is Registeel. So if you run Flash Cannon, I think one, you're running off meta moves. Two, you're giving up already lots of games. So the Shadow with the Flash Cannon still drop 4 matchups. Those 4 matchups are Scrafty, Noctowl, Reggie, the non-Shadow, and Walrein. And I looked up the Walrein matchups because the Shadow, I think, can almost one-shot with just one move, but the non-Shadow would, like, killing it with a move plus the lock-ons. So now it's moving into, like, it's pushing Registeel out of the comfort zone because those are supposed to be solid matchups for the non-Shadow. So in the Great League, the non-Shadow is straight bad. Straight bad. Why? Because, don't get me wrong, the non-Shadow, to be good, you need it to be very low attack. As low attack as possible, because there is a mudshot breakpoint where you get a bulk point versus the G-Fisk, where you take 1 less damage from mudshot. So mudshot will do 2 damage instead of 3 damage, which means G-Fisk will do 50% less damage from fast move, where they will be forced to throw 2 earthquakes instead of throwing an EQ and a rock slide, which is huge. If you have a solid IV Registeel, you have the good Registeel. If you have a raid IV Registeel in Great League, it's bad. Another matchup is the Medicham if you get a Zap Cannon debuff. If Registeel gets a Zap Cannon debuff and you have a solid IV Registeel, you can flip the 0 easily against Medicham in the same energy. Otherwise, it's a scuffed matchup. So, to conclude that, in Great League, Shadow Flash Cannon is kind of a spicy, off-meta charge move. 2, Shadow is bad, straight downgrade to the Registeel. 3, if you want to use Registeel, it has to be a solid IV. Now moving to Ultra League, and to be honest, it's almost the same losses. So in Ultra League, in the 0, the non-Shadow has 30 wins, 10 losses, and the Shadow has 51 wins, 8 losses. So I looked up these things. The thing about it is that the non-Shadow picks up the Vigoroth matchup. Have you seen Vigoroth in Ultra League? Have you guys seen Vigoroth in Ultra League? I've never seen that. While the Shadow drops the Talonflame, Trevenant, Scrafty. And basically Registeel is OP in Ultra League because you can beat those 3 plus the stuff that Steel beats, because people use a Trevenant, Scrafty, Talonflame as an anti-Steel Pokemon. So if you're a Steel, lose to those, there is a better answer. It is the non-Shadow, by the way, which beats those 3. So I didn't look up most of the matchups. Sorry, I didn't put the matchups that Registeel, the Shadow flip, because you already lose to those 3, which are the most notable matchups that the XL Registeel, by the XL I mean the very low attack Registeel, picks up. Like Registeel beats Charizard, beats Talonflame, Scrafty, and Trevenant. So if you use the Shadow, you don't win those matchups. So you end up with a Registeel that doesn't beat what normal Registeel beats. Is that a good idea? I don't think so. And in the 1, so I looked up the 1 matchups. In the 1, you drop the Coffin, the Talonflame again, but... Sorry, I think you win against Deoxys defense, but there's only one person in the world who still uses Deoxys defense in Ultra League, and it's Icepan. And believe me, you don't need a Registeel to beat Icepan, let's be honest. Those 2 matchups moves from being very close matchups into being a dominant matchup for Obstagoon and Scrafty. Like, Scrafty wins the 1 with like 1 HP, I think, or 2 HP. But if you have a Shadow Registeel, Scrafty wins the matchup with like 80% HP. Same for Goon. And like, Registeel is good against Obstagoon because you never need to shield either in the 0 or the 1 or the 0-1, which means the down shield. Where like you go straight Focus Blast and you win the matchup. With the Shadow Registeel, you don't do that. So overall, what's the pros of having Registeel Shadow? Looks better, and if you get a good IV, you can just flex it on Twitter or on Facebook. That's literally the only reason. The cons, what does Registeel Shadow do? It's bad because it's much more expensive to build, and you have only 1 chance to get one, and the chance of you getting a good IV is almost 0. The chance of your friends getting a good one is 100%. And even if you get the ideal IV, you drop lots of matchups that you still need to cover if you decide to choose the Shadow Registeel, and not that many Pokemons beat those 3, like the Trevenant, the Scrafty, and the Talonflame, because like we used to say, if you want to beat fairies plus those stuff, Registeel is the only Pokemon that can do it. And the thing about Shadow, you don't get lower than 666, which means you're already choosing a bad IV. So even if you get the ideal one, which is the 6, 14, 15, I think, it's still not that great of an option, because you can't get it lower than that. And this is the end of the video. If you're watching, feel free to give a like. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, because 75% of my viewers are non-subs, so please don't be one of those. Because what? Yeah, that's the end of the video, and see you in the next one. Peace. Yeah, so what do you guys think now? Twitter clout. What if I am looking for the Twitter drama? Does Shadow Reggie help me there? I don't know, dude. Like, I get that question a lot. Not gonna lie, Blaine. And literally, like, Registeel is busted because you beat Talonflame, Obstagoon, and Scrafty as a Steel Pokemon. So if you drop those, I think you're better using Bellmetal, to be honest. Subscribe to this fucking stream. How about Shadow and Alolan Ninetale? I will do another video, I think. Bronzong? Dude, no way Registeel lose to Bronzong. No way. But to be honest, you drop... By the way, as a Shadow Registeel, you lose to Armored Mewtwo. And I didn't include it in the video because Armored Mewtwo is not in the top 30. Serious question. Doesn't regular Reggie not one-shot Talon with Zap Cannon? You don't one-shot it, but and if you play the 1 or the 2, you can lock down after that. So the 0 is very scuffed, but you still win just because you get to the move before them if they swap into you. Try to be nice for that. The thing about it, Blaine, is that the Incinerate, like maybe in the 0 you're correct, but the thing about that, the Incinerate, because you know like how Reggie doesn't need to shield the first Flame Charge? With the Shadow, if you let the Flame Charge go, the Incinerate will farm you down. With the non-Shadow, you can comfortably let the Flame Charge go, and they still won't be able to beat you. It's just busted. And there is a point I didn't mention. No one uses Registeel. People just use Cobalion now. Because Cobalion does everything faster and better. Except maybe the Giratina matchup. But otherwise, literally does everything faster, better, and much less resources.